Sasya nirodhasya yatosti apvyavasyate sashraya param brahma paramatmeti shabdyate. Word for word, it's abhasaha, the cosmic manifestation. Cha, and nirodha, and its winding up. Cha, also. Yataha, from the source. Asti, is. Adhyavavishyate, become manifested. Saha, he. Ashrayaha, reservoir. Param, the supreme. Brahma, being. Paramatma, the super soul. Iti, thus. Shabdyate, called. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Translation: the Supreme One, who is celebrated as the Supreme Being or the Supreme Soul, is the Supreme Source of the cosmic manifestation as well as its reservoir and winding up. Thus He is the Supreme Fountainhead, the Absolute Truth. Purport: I like the word fountainhead. Very nicely described. We can only find that in Bhagavatam. Beautifully described. Names for Krishna. Fountainhead. You can call Krishna as fountainhead. Purport: synonyms for the supreme source of all energies, as explained in the very beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, are Janmadiyasya yata vadanti tattva vidas tattvam yajnanamadvayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagwaniti shabdyate. Called, where did it go? Called Param Brahma, Paramatma or Bhagavan. The word iti used here in this verse completes the synonyms and thus indicates Bhagavan. This will be further explained in the later verses, but this Bhagavan ultimately means Lord Krishna, because the Srimad Bhagavatam has already accepted the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Krishna. Krishna tu Bhagavan Swayam. The original source of all energies, or the Samam Bhavanam, is the Absolute Truth, which is called Param Brahma, etc. And Bhagavan is the last word of the Absolute Truth. But even with the synonyms for Bhagavan such as Narayana, Vishnu and Purusha, the last word is Krishna, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate, etc. Besides that, the Srimad Bhagavatam is the representation of Lord Krishna as a sound incarnation of the Lord. Krishnesva damo pagate dharma jnana dibhisaha kalau nashta drishamesha puranarko dunaoditaha. Bhagavatam 1.3.43. Thus, by general conclusion, Lord Krishna is the ultimate source of all energies, and the word Krishna means that. And to explain Krishna or the science of Krishna, the Srimad Bhagavatam has been prepared. In the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, this truth is indicated in the questions and answers by Shuta Goswami and great sages like Shaunaka. And in the first and second chapters of the canto, this is explained. In the third chapter, this subject is more explicit, and in the fourth chapter, even more explicit. In the second canto, the Absolute Truth as the personality of Godhead is further emphasized, and the indication is the Supreme Lord Krishna. The summary of Srimad Bhagavatam in 4 verses, as we have already discussed, is, what is that word? Succinct. Anyone know what that means? Very clear. Google says compressed or precise or concise. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate issue. The Supreme Personality of Godhead in the ultimate issue is confirmed by Brahma in his Brahma Samhita as Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha. So it is concluded in the third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. The complete subject matter is elaborately explained in the 10th and 11th cantos of the Srimad Bhagavatam. In the matter of the changes of the Manus or Manvantaras, such as the Swayambhuva Manvantara and Chakshusha Manvantara, as they are discussed in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Krishna is indicated. In the 8th canto, the Vaivashvata Manvantara explains the same subject indirectly. And in the 9th canto, the same purport is there. In the 12th canto, the same is further explained specifically regarding the different incarnations of the Lord. Thus it is concluded by studying the complete Srimad Bhagavatam that Lord Sri Krishna is the ultimate samambonam, or the ultimate source of all energy. And according to the grades of worshippers, the indications of the nomenclature may be differently explained as Narayana, Brahma, Paramatma, etc. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Shadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Thank you for coming for the Bhagavatam class, Sunday morning Bhagavatam class. So, I like this title. I was thinking yesterday with some of the boys, I was discussing how Bhagavatam, the titles that Bhagavatam gives are very, very direct and very, very inspiring. You look at the title, Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. All questions. Whatever question you may have, Bhagavatam is the answer. That's what the title means. Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. So if you have any questions, you know where to find it. And where should we find it? It will be in Bhagavatam. That's the glories of Bhagavatam. We hear that. I was reading the 12th canto and the last chapter. Anyone know what's the last chapter of the 12th canto? Glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. That's the last chapter. And it's beautifully described, the glories of Bhagavatam. It is said, as we know already, that Bhagavatam is the essence of all Vedic philosophy, right? Bhagavatam. If you want to read Ramayana, Mahabharata, etc., you read. But we know what's the essence. So ultimately you'll come to Bhagavatam, because that is the essence of Vedic literature. So this is what we should do. We should read and hear Bhagavatam, just like other great sages and other great sources are doing. We know Maharaj Parikshit is an elevated devotee. He already knows everything. He's a highly spiritual personality. But for our help, to help us, the neophytes or the conditioned souls, he's inquiring Bhagavatam. The whole pastime is beautifully arranged so Bhagavatam can be spoken, right? As we know, the whole pastime. We should go through the whole pastime of Maharaj Parikshit. Anyone know what chapter Maharaj Parikshit appears? Anyone know? In the first canto, what's the chapter number where Maharaj Parikshit appears? Appearance of King Emperor Parikshit. What's the chapter number? Does anyone remember? Chapter 12. Perfect. That's chapter 12. Chapter 12, Maharaj Parikshit appears. And we'll just start from chapter 12. So, Maharaj Parikshit appears in chapter 12. And we know that Parikshit was almost about to die in the womb of his mother by this devotee or non-devotee. Don't know what to say. but he's a great personality in the presence of Mahabharata because he's a very important character. If he wouldn't shoot the Brahmastra to kill Maharaj Parikshit, we wouldn't know the glories of Krishna, right? So ultimately, whatever's happened, everything is glorifying Krishna, right? Ashwatthama is a negative character, but we have a whole chapter in the first canto on Ashwatthama, how he was punished, but still, we hear these pastimes so we can understand the glories of Krishna. That is what Bhagavatam is teaching us, the glories of Krishna. So, as we know, Ashwatthama, in a lot of distress and anger, left the Brahmastra to kill the last living, the successor of the whole Pandavas. What did he do? He shot Brahmastra, and that Brahmastra was coming to get Maharaj Parikshit, destroy him. But the wife of Arjuna, the father of Uttara, she took shelter. Who did she take shelter of? She took shelter of Lord Krishna. And what did Lord Krishna did? Protected her. That Brahmastra couldn't affect Maharaj Parikshit. Sometimes we sleep with our cell phones on. We are affected by radiations of the cell phone. Brahmastra is like, imagine the biggest nuclear weapon they had at that time, and that couldn't affect anyone. That Brahmastra was just let go by the mercy of the Supreme Lord. So, this is what is said. The Brahmastra could have easily come and get Maharaj Parikshit, but because she took shelter of Lord Krishna, Krishna took care. Because that's what Krishna does. He takes care of his devotees. That's what he does. If you may believe it, you may not believe it, you may not have experienced it. When we are new, we sometimes face difficulties of the body, mind, and from the outside. We think, why is Krishna not helping me? Why is Krishna not giving me shelter? I'm like trying to ask Krishna. It is said that Krishna takes care of the devotees and kill the miscreants and the demons. This guy has disturbed my mind. Why is Krishna not helping me and kill him? Why is Krishna not killing this another person who has affected me? So this is what we may think in the beginning of the neophyte stage, when we are new. So, but we should know, Krishna does what he does, and he'll take care at the end of the day. So we should try to surrender everything we have in service of the Lord. And when Maharaj Parikshit grew, he was a great emperor. He wasn't just king of a little kingdom, small, tiny kingdom, or a little city, or a little state, or a little country. He was the king of the whole world. The whole world, If we start traveling from one corner of the world and go to the other corner, it'll probably take us a lifetime and hundreds and millions of dollars to do that. And Maharaj Parikshit was the emperor of this whole world. Yeah? Was he? Was he the emperor of the whole world? He was the emperor of the whole world. So, that's the glories of a devotee. And he wasn't the emperor who uses everything for his own sense gratification. No. Maharaj Parikshit has been described as a great emperor. Why is he a great emperor? Because he used everything in Krishna's service, in the service of the Supreme. That's what a great emperor should do. If you do it for your own personal sense gratification, what's the point? What's the point? If he was using everything for his own purpose, you think he would still be the emperor of the whole universe? Or the whole world? Would he be? Would people look up to him? All the, the praja, or the citizens of the whole world would look up to him like that? No. That's the key point. If one does, if a person performs his duties properly, then others will follow. This is what we should remember from this beautiful pastime. So Maharaj Parikshit, as we know, the situation comes where he has been around traveling. He's left, he's running around his kingdom, making sure everything is run in proper manner. And he gets very thirsty. Sometimes people get thirsty. Even great devotees can get thirsty. So he got thirsty and he went to get a little bit of water. He was looking for water, so he went to this sage. What's the name of the sage? Vishwamitra? Shami. So the sage, he went to the sage's cottage to get some water, and he sees the sage who is in trance, situated, meditating upon the absolute truth, nicely meditating. But Maharaj Parikshit is so thirsty. He's thinking that I haven't been welcomed by this sage. He hasn't offered me a seat. He hasn't offered me a little water. And then just casually, he just picks up. Because when a king sees a brahmana, he's supposed to offer respects, offer garlands, But he saw a little snake, and because he was a little, thinking that, he hasn't welcomed me very well. So he put the garland of snake, a dead snake, around his neck. And there's another beautiful thing that we learn. When the sage woke up from his trance, he saw this dead snake. What did he do? Did he get crazy? Did he lost his mind? Who has done this to me? Did he lose his mind? No. That's a great sage, very mentally patient. Now, what is the snake doing over here? He doesn't belong here, a dead snake, so he just threw it away and went back to his trance. If we get a little problem, we meditate upon it for like next 10, 15 days at least. Just a little tiny thing. But that's what a brahmana does. The qualities of a brahmana is so great. That's why Krishna is the caretaker of the brahmanas. Because a great brahmana is not disturbed by these tiny disturbances that comes in the way of his meditation on the absolute truth. He just performs his activities, spiritual activities, without the disturbance or without the distress or happiness. Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita, right? Dukeshvanu vignam manah sukeshvanu vigite spraha vita raga bhaya krodha stitadir munirushchate. Second chapter, Krishna explains. Stitadir munirushchate means the sage of a steady mind, who is free from all attachment, who is free from happiness and distress, is the sage of a steady mind. So we should try to become like that. There will be many disturbances in the age of Kali that will come to get us, But we shouldn't give up taking shelter of the Supreme Lord. Actually, it's a blessing, if you think about it. It's a real blessing being born in the age of Kali. Because there's so much disturbances, you don't have to find disturbances. It'll come automatically. It'll come naturally to you. So all these disturbances will keep coming and coming and coming. That's the material world, and this is Kali Yuga. It's a perfect combination to take shelter of the Supreme Lord. Because the more disturbances come, the more it becomes easier for us to take shelter of the Supreme Lord. But being so conditioned in the age of Kali, we think we are the doers of everything, right? My Gurudev was explaining that, in just a preaching class he was explaining that. Does any one of you ever go out looking for stress? Do you think like, I want to get some more stress today, I haven't got enough stress in life? Does anyone do it? No. Nobody goes looking for stress. But it still comes on its natural accord. It still comes. Never met a person who hasn't been stressful in life. So it will come. It will come. Eventually it will come. One way or another it will come. So if the stress is automatically coming based on our karmic activity, then what's the point of chasing happiness, which will also come naturally? So everyone is running around looking to be successful and happy in all circumstances. It will come naturally as much as is assigned in your quota. So we should be free of this happiness and distress, which is always changing. Some days are happy, some days are sad. We should just do our spiritual practice and surrender to the Supreme Lord and do our spiritual duties daily. That is what Bhagavatam is teaching us. So going back to the story of Maharaj Parikshit, a great sage, yeah, a great sage did not react in that way, but Bhagavatam needs to be spoken, so someone has to react. Who reacted? The sage's son. He said, my father has been humiliated by this person, this king. What does he think? What does a Kshatriya think of himself? We are the Brahmins. We are superior than a Kshatriya. That's when the divisions of the classes got disturbed and started the whole chaos. Because Kali is about to come soon. So it's all preparation. And that sage cursed Maharaj Parikshit. Yeah, cursed that he will die in 7 days, killed by a snake. And Maharaj Parikshit could have counter-cursed that one because he's such a great devotee. He has all the Brahmanas in the world, because he's the king of the world, so all the Brahmanas will listen to him. He could counter-curse and, just let it go, but he didn't. He accepted as the will of the Lord. Because he could see the signs of Kali needs to come. And that means, and Kali couldn't enter until Maharaj Parikshit is there. So, it's time for Maharaj Parikshit to listen to the glorious scriptures of the Vedic verses, 18,000 verses. He listened to in 7 days, free of hunger, free of thirst. Can we go 7 days listening to Bhagavatam without eating or drinking? Can we? No, we can't. It takes a lot of austerity. Sometimes even a 40-minute Bhagavatam class can seem like an austerity to attend, right? Go to sleep, or we just, are in our own little world. Happens. Does this happen to anyone, or is it just me? Yeah? No? So, I don't know what comes to your mind, sometimes. That comes to my mind. Maybe you guys think maybe this should never end. Maybe it should keep going on forever. But sometimes, it comes to me that 40-minute Bhagavatam class can seem a very long time. So, this is why we hear Bhagavatam. So we can develop the taste for Bhagavatam. As we hear, if someone has jaundice or a disease like jaundice, what is the cure for jaundice? Is to keep taking sweet, because the sweet will taste sour. And once the taste come back, that's when you're getting fixed. That's when you're getting healthier. Similarly, it's like chanting. We give this example usually for chanting of the Maha Mantra. But it also applies in Bhagavatam with hearing. Once that taste for hearing Bhagavatam continuously, regularly comes back, that's when you're getting fixed. That's when you're making advancement in your spiritual life. Because now all you want to do is hear Bhagavatam from the person Bhagavatam. So this is important. So a person, a great devotee does not talk about any other subjects. Shukadev Goswami, when he appeared, all the great sages were present. Who and who you name were present. Even the not so great sages were present. That's a new thing I just recently learned in a class given by a great spiritual leader. He was saying that we hear that all the great sages, Narad Muni was present, Vyasadeva was present, Shukadev was present. All these great sages were present. But there were many sages that were not so great also. They were also present. So everyone was present when Shukadev Goswami was speaking. Even the impersonalist sages meditating upon the impersonal Brahma Jyoti were also present in that assembly. So everyone was present. All the greats, or not great sages, everyone was present. That's why we hear Bhagavatam. Is sometimes Shukadev Goswami goes off the topic to make the other not so great sages understand what is the essence of Bhagavatam. So a great leader or a great devotee knows how to speak Bhagavatam. He knows the essence of Bhagavatam and he speaks as per the audience. So we hear Bhagavatam is question and answers. It is perfect questions and perfect answers. That's what whole Bhagavatam is all about. What's the first chapter of Bhagavatam? Questions by the sages. Questions by the sages. So that's the first chapter. That's how Bhagavatam starts, by questions. Because you can't get a right answer until you ask a good question. So we should look for the good questions. If we have a question, we should ask. And why should we ask these questions? What are we trying to achieve with all these questions? Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. So whatever question you have, you may ask, and Bhagavatam will be the answer to all questions. So that's why we know in Bhagavatam everything is described. Creation is described. Pastimes of Krishna is described. If you have any questions on Krishna's pastimes, you can ask Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam will tell you the right answers. Everything is described. The creation, cosmic manifestation, the annihilation, the whole dynasties of Manus and all the bad kings. And I was just reading 12th canto, so I was just going through the whole summary of how the kings fell from their position of piety and charity and all these good qualities, and how slowly it just, diminished, and Shudras became kings, and Bhagavatam describes everything. It's nothing that you can imagine or think that Bhagavatam doesn't have. So that's why Bhagavatam is so great. That is why Bhagavatam is glorified everywhere. But it is very secret also. Bhagavatam cannot be understood by a non-devotee. So to understand Bhagavatam, you have to hear from the Bhagavatam, and you have to be a little surrendered. Otherwise, Bhagavatam will not make any sense to you. It'll just be whatever. Mountains are flying, this is going on, what's going on, I don't understand. In Kali Yuga, we can't perceive the greatness of Bhagavatam with our material senses. Bhagavatam can only be perceived if we have a surrendered attitude towards Bhagavatam. Both Bhagavatam, the book Bhagavatam and the person Bhagavatam who's speaking. That's the glories of Bhagavatam. So it's very nice, beautiful pastime, beautiful purport that Prabhupada is writing about glorifying Bhagavatam. So there's a very beautiful line that I was just reading in this purport. I just found that to be very interesting. Just trying to find it. Yeah, over here. This will be further explained in the later verses, but this Bhagavan ultimately means Lord Krishna, because the Srimad Bhagavatam has already accepted the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Krishna. Now, I had this question when I was reading Bhagavatam for the very first time. In many places, when Lord Shiva is speaking, the Sanskrit is described as Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. If you haven't noticed. Lord Shiva is speaking, or Narada Muni sometimes is speaking, and is described as Bhagavan Uvacha. It's amazing, right? One may wonder. It's easy to get confused when there is Bhagavan being described as many different personalities. See, if you are reading this without the authority or without the disciplic succession, you will easily get confused. And you'll tell, what's going on, There's so many Bhagavans here. But I thought Bhagavan is only supposed to be one, the supreme absolute truth. So one may easily get confused. That's why we need the disciplic succession. So these doubts can be removed from our mind, so we don't get distracted towards the other impersonal or other, consider Krishna as equal to the demigods. We all know Shiva is the greatest of all demigods. He's the greatest Vaishnava. Do you know the Sanskrit for that one that's described in Bhagavatam? Yeah, among the Vaishnavas, Shiva, Shambhu, is the greatest of all Vaishnavas. Like the Ganga is the greatest of all rivers. Shiva is the greatest of all Vaishnavas. That's why, to glorify a great devotee, the greatest Vaishnava, sometimes Bhagavan has been used to describe. That's what the Acharyas explain. So we shouldn't confuse, we shouldn't get caught up. As soon as we start reading the Bhagavatam, the 3rd chapter of Bhagavatam tells us Krishna. What's the title? The title of the 3rd chapter. Yeah, what's the chapter? 3rd chapter of the 1st canto. Krishna is the source of all incarnations. Amazing title, right? You don't even need to read anything further. The title tells you everything. Krishna is the source of all incarnations. Now wherever you think, whoever incarnation, because usually in our Hindu culture, people confuse this. They think Krishna is the avatar of Vishnu. But as we know, Krishna tu Bhagwan Swayam is Krishna. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we should use this as a base to set up our foundation of understanding Bhagavatam. So it's 8:30. If there's any questions, comments, or corrections, please speak. No questions? All right. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi.